so they can just review if they haven't. Good morning, everyone. My name is Renier Pienaar. I'm a technical support consultant at Sage. This has been my role for the past 10 years and something that I obviously enjoy doing, having done it for 10 years. We'll be reviewing MongoDB Disaster Recovery Automation during this webinar. And let's get to it. I just want to bring up the PowerPoint slide. Give me 5 seconds. I just want to share this. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll kick off with a brief introduction, followed by a basic review of disaster recovery. We'll review the importance of holistic disaster recovery. We'll also have a look at the script we have developed to allow us to achieve MongoDB DR automation. We'll also have a look at the actual practical example of a MongoDB disaster recovery, which hypothetically happened due to a virus deleting the MongoDB directory. We'll have a short Q&A session followed by the closing directly after our illustration. Guys, please mute your microphones if you don't mind. Just see if I can. Okay. Okay, the introduction. MongoDB backups has been a gray area for Sage business partners, and it's our intent in this webinar to illustrate a simple but very effective method for automatically creating MongoDB backups on a scheduled basis. These MongoDB backups will form part of a small part of a bigger holistic disaster recovery that will encompass the entire business, which the customer IT department will deploy or our business partner will deploy. You may ask questions during this webinar. Please type these questions into the chat. We'll have a short Q&A session after the presentation regarding these questions and the course content that we've covered. All questions, including questions we do not cover in the Q&A, will be answered in a blog that we'll make available to you within the course of the next few days. So let's get cracking. So basic review of disaster recovery. Disaster recovery generally involves a set of policies that's defined by the company, tools and procedures to enable recovery to a point prior to any form of disaster occurring. Disaster recovery is done to support critical business functions. Disaster recovery supports business continuity. There's a business continuity standard that was drafted. It's a British standard that was drafted in 2008, 25,999 and also 25,777. It's still available for review if you want to review that. That was replaced by ISO standard in 2011, and the ISO standard number is 20,031. Now, this is a guideline for information and communication technology readiness for business continuity. Guys, let's review the diagram on the PowerPoint. That basically encompasses what disaster recovery is all about. We start with a recovery point objective. And a recovery point objective forms part of a business continuity plan. It's basically the maximum amount of time in which data like transactions being processed may not be able to be processed or captured, like, for example, sales invoices, purchase orders, etc. Okay, then we have the actual incident happening. Directly after the incident, we have a planned RTO or recovery time objective. recovery time objective is the targeted amount of time the business plans to process and restore itself to a point prior to any form of disaster happening. Then Forbes defines the RTA. You'll see at the bottom there, there's a RTA brace, actual recovery period. Now Forbes defines that RTA as the key element to ensure business continuity and disaster recovery. In other words, that's actually what happens in the actual field. Okay, so in that little diagram very nicely illustrates exactly what disaster recovery is all about. So, importance of holistic DR, a comprehensive disaster recovery plan is key to ensure business continuity for disaster when disaster strikes. Proper planning is very, very key. A French writer, poet, journalist once said, "A goal without a plan is just a wish." And it's exactly that as far as disaster recovery is concerned. You need to have a plan in place to ensure that when disaster strikes, that you can actually carry on with your business. Planning includes arranging for backup sites, be they hot, warm, cold, or standby sites, with the necessary hardware as needed to provide continuity to the business. So we need the required hardware to be in place to actually ensure that we can actually carry on with our normal business day-to-day activities. Okay, we have a simple script that we've developed. It's basically a DOS batch file, and we'll review this on a VM image that we'll use as a staging area for this disaster recovery. Okay, so we'll now illustrate a MongoDB DR incident, which involves a hypothetical virus, which was kind enough to wipe out our entire MongoDB directory. We recover back to a point of full operation. What we will be demonstrating here is the recovery time actual, or the RTA for MongoDB. So let me just share that section. Just give me 5 seconds. And there we go. Okay, so this is basically the VM that we'd be using as a staging area. Before I start, I just want to show you the directory structure. So if we go into Sage, over here we can see that this is our normal installation directory. And inside here, under SafeX3, I've included an extra directory that I call backups. Now, this is where our backups is going to be processed. I've done a number of tests using this particular script. And basically what the script does, we'll refer back to the script quite a bit of times, is it creates a self-extracting executable and then deletes any files and directories after that. Okay, so what we need to restore ourselves is this particular file. And then we'll copy this file into a directory that we'll recreate as the MongoDB. This name is very relevant here. It contains the year, followed by the month, followed by the day, followed by the actual component name of MongoDB. And then it's a self-extracting executable. It's created through 7-zip. 7-zip is one of our utilities that we use quite often to basically zip folders, etc., etc. Okay, so we are quickly going to have a look at the script, and then I'm not going to go into the details of the script, but I will be showing you the details of the script anyway. But for now, let's just quickly have a look. So essentially, this set here allows us to pass a parameter to the script, and the only parameter that we're going to be passing here is the drive letter. We ensure that our services are stopped over here, and we'll go through this in detail a little bit later when the actual script is running. Just make sure that this is saved. Yeah. Okay, so the directory in which MongoDB is installed is this directory here. and I'm going to illustrate that you can see everything's working fine on this image. So I'm going to log into the image, and you guys will see everything's 100% fine. So we'll log in as admin. And over here, you can see we can log into MongoDB. It's and Syracuse being the front end for MongoDB. And there I've logged out. So then how we schedule this particular script is we'll use the task scheduler, the built-in Windows. Every Windows operating system has a task scheduler. And if we go into this, we can go into the control panel. I normally just, let's just access it here again. There you go. Now, if we have a look at the admin tools, you will see that there'll be a task scheduler. Each and every Windows operating system comes with a task scheduler. So this is something that you can use for arranging any form of scheduled task, like running a PowerShell script, or in this case, a DOS script, or any other program that you want to run on a regular basis. You can actually schedule using the task scheduler. We're going to set it up to actually schedule our MongoDB backups using this particular script. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to play the part of our virus, and we are going to be deleting our MongoDB directory completely. Now, before we do that, it's actually a good idea to just stop the services. Let's just imagine the virus was friendly enough to stop all the services as well. So inside services, we'll stop MongoDB. This is to ensure that we can delete the entire MongoDB directory. Stop that. Okay, so this is all the virus doing. It's automatically stopped the MongoDB service, and then it was friendly enough to go and delete this directory. So I'm going to shift delete. Okay, something that's not allowing me to delete it. Interesting. Let's skip that file.
I think it's because you deleted twice.
No, it's actually, I think it's actually Mongo, not Mongo, but rather Syracuse itself that's running in the background. So there's something else using it. So I'm just going to stop Syracuse, and after that we should be good. It's because we logged into Syracuse, and there's probably some node nanny processes that's kicked off in the background. Just hope it stops now. It should stop any minute now. We can also just restart the complete environment. Obviously, MongoDB won't be able to start if we've deleted the directory, but we must make sure that we delete the bin directory, which contains the binary files for MongoDB. Otherwise, it may actually still be able to kick itself off. Now, there's a bunch of very important files that's stored within the MongoDB directory. That's why it's actually a very solid method of actually backing up MongoDB is to do exactly what we're doing here, keep a copy of the entire MongoDB directory. And this is the premise behind our disaster recovery method, is we're going to be using we're going to be using the entire directory as a backup. So we'll back up everything that's contained within MongoDB. You'll see that it's not so big while this is busy stopping or not. We're just going to review that quickly. you'll see that the actual directory is not massive. Okay, there it seems to have deleted itself now, and there's still some files. Yeah. I just want to delete everything there. So I think it stopped, even though it's saying it still needs to carry on. But let's just finish the deleting. So I want to, there we go. So now it's completely gone. So the virus has done its job very good. Now I'm just going to open one of these, keep one of these open for you. And specifically, I want you to see the backup directory. So this is this directory inside SafeX3. I'm going to extract basically our last known backup into the same directory that contains my, now remember the key component here is the name of the directory. Also, when you restore, it's very important from a permission perspective that the user that you're logging in is the same user that was used to install MongoDB, so that the directory permissions are exactly the same as when MongoDB was created for the directory that we're going to be creating now. So in here, I'm going to create the directory for that MongoDB directory. And now I'm going to copy this, the self-extracting executable into that directory. I'm going to copy it in there. Okay, and now we'll be able to extract. So to extract it, it's a self-extracting executable, so you can just double click on it and it will start its extracting process now. You'll see that the extraction is a lot faster than the actual compiling of the self-extracting executable. The reason for that is when it creates the actual self-extracting executable, 7-zip ensures that all the files are created correctly. So I know that I can use this file because 7-zip gave me a report after it created the file that everything is okay. If it gave me a report that everything's not okay, I will not use that file. I've had a couple of challenges with WinRAR personally, where WinRAR said everything is okay, but everything was not okay. Okay, so in here, guys, we can see that there is my file that I've used, self-extracting file that I've used, but it's now, so in order to ensure that I don't back this file up, I would delete the self-extracting executable from this directory. So I'm going to delete it from that directory, and there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just emulate the creation of a new self-extracting executable file, or new backup, if you will. So in order to do that, we're going to execute our script. And this is where I'm going to explain the script as the script is being created, or the backup is being created in the background. So let's quickly do that. So I normally store my scripts. I want these two directories to be visible afterwards. So I'm going to just use this directory to kick off the script. Now, this process will be automated using the task scheduler that I showed you guys. I'll also go and show you how to set that up in a bit. So under scripts, this is normally where I store all my scripts. And here's the backup script that we've created. So I'm just going to double click on that. And what it's going to start doing is stopping all the related services. MongoDB isn't there, so it's not going to have a problem stopping that service. And then here, what it does, there's part of the script that basically uses the system date as the date for the folder, as being part of the folder variable date. So that folder date there contains the actual system date, starting with a year, followed by the month, followed by day. Okay, so I've deliberately put these pauses in here just to slow it down so I can explain the script for you. So now it just gives us a directory of what's inside the backup directory. And now at this point, I just want to delete this so that you can see this directory is created now by the script. and it's basically going to copy the contents of the MongoDB directory into that directory that's being created there. So let's quickly do that. And here it's starting to copy all the contents into that directory. That's what it's busy doing now. And literally what it's doing, it's automatically copying all the files, all the subfolders, etc., into this directory here. This is normally, it doesn't take too long. It's about 1.5 gigabytes now. Now what it's doing, it's busy creating the new self-extracting executable using today's date. You can see it's busy doing that now. And here we've got a percentage of how far it is. Now, as mentioned before, the process will take a little bit longer than the actual extraction. The reason for that is 7-zip actually does certain checks. Now, funny enough, I installed the 64-bit version, yet it was installed in the 32-bit directory. I'm not 100% sure why that happens with 7-zip, but for whatever reason, it has happened. Now, you'll see that within the script, we actually reference this directory and 7-zip itself. And then we've got a couple of parameters that we pass onto 7-zip to tell it what directory we want to back up or create a self-extracting executable from, and it's obviously this directory that we're creating here, that we've created here now. So it's busy. It's going to be busy for about roughly 10 more minutes. While it's busy, I think let's have a look at the actual script itself. I will just review what's happening here in the background. So I'm just going to go back to the script. So essentially, the script itself can be launched from the command prompt or the operating system, for that matter, and we can pass a variable to it, which is basically the drive letter. So in other words, we'll have the name of the script space followed by the drive letter, and then colon. And then over here, typically it stops all the services. So once the script is automated, it'll stop all our MongoDB services. Now, your services names may not be the same as mine. Therefore, it's very important for you to modify these and make sure that these names correspond with your names. Now, generally speaking, you only have inverted commas where you have a space. So we don't really need inverted commas in that first option there. Then where space is replaced with the underscore, that's fine. You can actually use that name without inverted commas as well. But the minute you have spaces, you have to put it into inverted commas. Okay, then over here we use the system date as the folder date, and then that variable there is just echoed so we can make sure that the folder date is created correctly, which it is. Okay, over here we have one of the key steps, which is basically happening now, is where we're copying the directory that we've created. We're copying the contents of MongoDB into the directory that we've created. Okay, and then over here, we're using 7-zip to basically create that self-extracting executable from the directory that we've created. And then once it's finished creating that directory, we're going to delete that backup. And this is why I wanted to show you those two directories. So you'll see that once the script is finished with what it's doing, it will actually delete that directory. It's on 72%, so almost done. It'll actually delete that system date directory because we don't need it. We just need the self-extracting executable in order to restore, like we have just done. Okay, so then over here, it will remove that directory inside our backups directory that it's created. It also removes the sub directories, etc. And then once it's done that, it will restart all my key services again. And basically, that's it from a script automation point of view. So let's go back now. Unfortunately, yeah, we'll have to wait a bit. Maybe I can just go and explain to you guys the automation using the task scheduler. I think let's have a look at that. while this is still busy. So let's go into the task scheduler so we don't waste time. But here you can see that directory still exists. I actually want you guys to see this. So once it gets to the point where it's going to delete the directory, that directory will be deleted, and we're just going to be left with our newly created self-extracting executable. You can see the date there, year, August the 20th, followed by the component name of my MongoDB component. And then obviously it's got a .exe because it's a self-extracting executable. And it's automatically being created on the command prompt for us. It's on 90%, so almost done. Hopefully this last 10% doesn't take too long. Let's give it a bit. And then I think you guys can take note of the fact that that directory is there. It's immediately going to delete it after this. And that's going to delete all the contents of the, very important, because if you, MongoDB itself won't be too big, but the minute we start storing documents inside MongoDB, it can become very, very big. So for that reason, we don't want double backups. We just want the self-extracting executable, and then maybe only for certain days as well. We can choose what type of disaster recovery plan. Now there, it's going to delete that directory, and you'll see that directory is now going to disappear. So the archive is completed successfully. So 7-Zip is giving us a report here saying that there's no errors. It's happy with the archive that it's created, and everything is good. So we can actually push any button. And then this section is the section where that directory is now going to be deleted. You can see it's disappeared, and it's starting all the key services now again. And we should be able to log in. Now, a word of advice, once you've restored to a point like this, it's always a good idea to just restart the entire server. I'm going to restart this VM. It's on a SSD, so it'll take a couple of seconds, so it won't be long. So I'm just going to restart. And the reason you want to do that is you've got rogue nanny processes that's created in the background. You want the system to actually get rid of those. Now, restarting will automatically get rid of all those unnecessary services and any nanny processes that was previously there, or anything that shouldn't be there for that matter. So restart is a golden rule in IT. I think it's one of the things that every IT person has used. Have you restarted your computer after something goes wrong? Okay, so here we've restarted now. After this, I'm just going to show you how to set up the script using the task scheduler, and then we'll carry on. Before I do that, I want to show you that we can log back into MongoDB, and we've now restored the directory. So the RTA is essentially the time from when we started our recovery process to the point where we have failed over and gone back to a point where we were before the disaster occurred. Okay, it just needs to start all the nanny processes. Let's just have a look, see how far it is. It's already done that, great. And yeah, I can log in. And you guys can see we're back to where we were. So solid method of recovering from a disaster. Very simple, not complicated. We can use Mongo dump and Mongo restore to restore MongoDB. This method I like simply because MongoDB comes with a set of binary files. This method ensures that you're using exactly the right files that you need to use. And in my opinion, it's a very solid method of actually failing over. You can also deploy this where you're using a clustered Syracuse setup. We've got multiple clustered Syracuse servers, except you'll have to run it on each every machine. So in other words, each machine's MongoDB has to be backed up using this method. And for that particular method, in restoring the entire or backing up the entire MongoDB directory is a very solid way of doing it, because the configuration file that's specific to a Syracuse clustered server will also be backed up. So a very, very solid method of restoring. And I just want to show you the directory tree that was created, or the directory itself that was created. So here's the file that we created when we run this. You can see there's the time 11:30, and you can see it's self-extracting executable. The size is more or less the same. Interesting sake, I've noted that MongoDB slowly but surely increases in size. Its log files, etc., that it actually creates when you log into MongoDB. But yeah, this the size should more or less be the same. And then from here, you can decide to delete your older backups if you don't want them anymore. And you can, for example, have a backup plan that has 7 days for every day, and then 1 month backups for a year, and then 1 year backups for 5 years or something like that. That's a solid DR plan that's used by a lot of key businesses. So you could choose. You can also have a year's worth of MongoDB backups if you want on a daily basis. But in my opinion, you're not going to use all of them, and you don't need all of them. So that choice will be entirely up to you. So let's have a look at how we actually automate this using the task scheduler. So if I go into the task command prompt again, and I go to my task scheduler. So yeah, I go to task scheduler, just fire that up. This is where I will schedule my tasks. And you'll see that I've got a task scheduled already for this. No, it's not that. Okay, don't have one. Only have services start. Okay, that's when the machine starts up. Okay, let's create one. So we're just going to create a task. So we're going to say action. We want to create a task. We'll call it create MongoDB. Guys, please just mute your microphones. So here we will say create MongoDB backup. That's going to be the name of the task. We'll just use the same description. We want this to run when the user's logged in or not. Okay, so we don't want to store the password, so you can tick that. Then the trigger is going to be on a daily basis. We want this to run on a daily basis. And let's say we want to run this at 11 o'clock at night when everybody's logged out of the system. So we want to make sure it's 11 o'clock at night when everybody's logged out of the system. It's going to run on a daily basis. So we'll say that. The action that we want is we want it to trigger that script. So we'll browse to the script. And this is our scripts directory that I would use. And I would say open. And any argument I want to pass is the directory. If you've installed, for example, MongoDB on the D drive, make sure that you put in a D colon there. Any start optional we don't need. That's the only argument we have to pass, that we can pass. And obviously we have to ensure that the rest of the script is in line with pointing to the D drive and not the C drive, for example. Okay, then there's no conditions or settings like that. And then I would just click OK. And then it's asking me to authenticate against the administrator user. And here I just have to enter the password for the administrator user. I would enter it there, and boom, my task is set up at administrator level. So that's the highest possible level that we can set up our task for. And now every day it's going to run at midnight, and you can actually test this. I've also tested it. It does actually work. It will go and create your, except the D drive is not going to work in this particular case. I'll have to change that to the C drive. But effectively, the script will now run. And that's essentially it. We have successfully restored to a point where we have the ability to log back into the system now, and it's a very, very effective little way of actually restoring from a disaster, as far as MongoDB is concerned. Okay, guys, we're going to go to a quick Q&A session now. Everything that we've covered, if you have any specific questions around what we've covered, we'll have questions and answers as far as that's concerned. So at this stage, let's just have a look at what you've typed into the chat.
Sorry, Renier. Okay.
Sure.
So we have a couple of questions that came through. So I'll just pick a couple of questions that came through. So the first one came from Paul. Says, how often would you suggest backing up the MongoDB?
I would seriously, thank you for that, Andrew. I would seriously suggest that you use the one day for an entire week. So in other words, for any given week, you would have 7 days worth of backups going 1 week back. Thereafter, you would have a month's backups, one backup for every month for entire year. Thereafter, you would have 1 year's worth of backups for every year. So in other words, you don't have to keep a backup for every day. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, another question. Are you going to make this script available?
Yes, we will make the script available to you guys. We are going to have a blog. We'll have a look at how we can automate this, but otherwise we can upload the script onto our FTP site for you guys, and you can just download it there. You should be able to have to download the script, even though it is a batch file. Some email servers will actually block the file from being downloaded, but our mail server will allow it. Our FTP server will allow you to download the file. So in other words, we can't mail the file, but you can download it from our FTP server.
Another question, I think I'll take, maybe this is one of the last two questions that we will put through. Would you be able to restore this backup into another server?
Yes, you would. If that server is set up exactly the way as, in other words, it's almost a clone of this particular server, then yes, you can. The name of the server is obviously very important. However, in this particular case, the name of the server isn't even referenced in the script file, or inside MongoDB it will. So in other words, the original node for MongoDB has to be exactly the same. If it's not exactly the same, then there will be a problem. But ideally, you should have exactly the same server with the same server name. Even the IP address, server IPs, as you guys know, is normally static and not dynamic. But yes, you can.
Okay, I think the rest of the questions you can answer them, or you find the answers when on Sage City. So we will have a recording of this session on Sage City, and the recording as well is going to be converted into a blog that you find on our Sage City X3 for Africa and Middle East. And then if you click on the blog section, you will find this presentation and other blogs that we have written for you. So all the questions, they feel free to post questions on that blog. And I think we have just gotten close to 45 minutes. You can conclude the presentation.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Guys, thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate you attending. we would like you to use this. It's a very simple way of actually ensuring that you have MongoDB backups along with your other key business related database backups such as Oracle and SQL. And it's a great way of ensuring that you are covered from a MongoDB perspective as well. And you can always restore using this particular script. It's a very easy way and quick way to ensure that you can actually restore. And as you guys saw, we could restore within 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes in actual fact, and we were back to where we were before the disaster struck. So thank you very much for your time, guys. Go well, and keep an eye on Andrew's email. And have a look out for the blog, and we'll reference the actual directory that contains the script. And you can also reference this particular recording if you want to review anything that we've covered within this webinar. Thank you very much, guys.
And one last thing, again, we would like to hear your feedback on the webinars that we present to you. This come we try to have at least 2 webinars in a month. So we are going to have another one next week. Please, if you can take some time to review and to comment and evaluate our webinar, the link for the evaluation is going to be in the chat section shortly. Please just, we would like to hear your comments and other future topics that you want us to cover. Thank you very much.
And thank you too, Andrew, for your kind comments that you've made throughout the presentation. I'm going to close now, guys. Go well. Have a great day, and hope you enjoyed the webinar.